If you want a race bike on a budget, then how about this? The brand new Rysel RCR. It's the most exciting, most in demand, the most hyped new road bike on the market right now. But is it actually any good? Is it worth the hype? Well, today in this video, we'll find out. I'll tell you all details about it, the price, the weight, go for a ride to see how it climbs, descends, handles, talk about comfort and compliance and speed, and how it compares to other bikes in a category of lightweight aero all-rounders. So Van Rysel, as you probably know, is owned by Decathlon, the French mega sports store, and they've been making bikes for years and years, but mostly at the entry level, with a Tri-Ban in particular, a very popular entry-level series of road bikes. But a couple of years ago, clearly fed up with just making entry-level bikes, they decided to go for the high end, and the RCR is the result. They even have a world tour team riding their bikes as well and doing pretty darn well. So let's start with the design of the bike, and the company says it's trying to be both aerodynamic, which we can see it clearly is, and also lightweight, in the same way as the Specialized Tarmac SL8 and the new Trek Madone SLR. And the bike is pretty lightweight. This model, with no pedals in a size large, is 8 kilos, and the frame on its own is pretty lightweight as well. A claimed 830 grams for a size medium, which is pretty good for the company that the bike keeps, and even more impressive when you consider the gap to the Pro level model, which has higher modular carbon fiber, is 790 grams, so the gap between this model and that Pro level one isn't that big. And some bike brands definitely have a bigger weight difference between their top tier models and their mid-range entry-level models with the same frame shapes but different grades of carbon fiber. And while it looks like a copy and paste job, it most certainly isn't. The company have worked with the French Aerospace Agency with a wind tunnel near their headquarters in Lille. So it's been properly CFD designed and tested in a wind tunnel. So it's not aero inspired like some bikes are, but actually aerodynamic. And testing by German Tour magazine definitely validates this aero claim. 207 watts at 45 kilometers per hour, which is in the same company as the Madone, the Tarmac, the Super 6 Evo, the Canyon Aero, and other sort of aero lightweight bikes like this. Although for clarity, that Tour magazine test was on the Pro level model with a one-piece carbon fiber handlebar measuring just 35 centimeters wide and different wheels, so worth bearing that in mind. And for a company clearly as ambitious as Van Rysel are, with that world tour team riding their bikes this year and very aggressive price points, coming out with an aero-inspired bike, a copy and paste bike, probably wasn't enough to really carve a slice of the market for themselves. So coming out with a properly aero-tested bike is the only way forward to gain that trust from people looking to buy their bike over a Specialized or a Trek or a Cannondale. So some likes and dislikes then, and I like the fact we have a two-piece handlebar and stem arrangement, which at this price point probably makes a lot of sense. You can easily change the handlebar or the stem as you want, and the brake hoses are underneath the stem into the frame with a normal round steering tube. And you can adjust the height of the stem with the spaces here that remove and slam the stem as I've done. If I kept the bike, I would chop that steering tube off and have a nice, clean, flush appearance. But one dislike is the width of the handlebar. This size large bike has a 44 centimeter wide handlebar, which simply put is too wide for an aero bike, given the benefits of a narrow handlebar. The Pro level bike has a crazy narrow handlebar, so this bike should have a narrow handlebar as well. So that is a missed opportunity to not give us more aero on this bike at this price point, but something you could change, but you shouldn't have to on a bike costing £4,500. It may be a race bike, but it's unlikely most people buying this bike will actually be racing with it. So I'm glad we have some nice real world usable gears here. I'm a big fan of the SRAM Rival AXS group set. I've been riding it on my own bike for the last 2 years and it's been reliable and hasn't let me down at all. And we have some nice sensible gears too. A 48-35 chain set and 10-36 on the back, so big range, good top end for going flat out fast, and some nice easy climbing gears. So definitely better than the bigger race focused gears you get on a top level pro race bike. I also like the fact we have a power meter as well, which at this price point definitely isn't a given. I also like the fact we have space for 33mm wide tyres, which is comparable to most Aero race bikes. They're usually around 32, maybe 33, but there are outliers like the NV Melee, which go up to 35, and the bike comes spec with 28mm wide tuber tyres with tubeless wheels as well. These have inner tubes fitted, but I need to swap to put some valves in there and some sealant rather than an inner tube. And you have a nice lightweight wide tyre tubeless setup. Right, here we are then, riding the new Van Rysel RCR on my local roads, on the same routes I actually use for testing all the bikes here at Just Ride Bikes, including of course the Tarmac. So flat roads, some nice punchy climbs, some fun corners and descents. It's a good test of a race bike like this. And we'll give it some power and some beans on some of the climbs in a bit and see how it handles all that. And straight away, it feels very good and feels familiar as well. Geometry, not a million miles away from a Tarmac or other top-end race bike. So clearly a bike that is as aero as they say it is, and they say it compares well to other top-end race bikes like the Tarmac, and I can fully believe that based on my riding, comparing the numbers to other test bikes on these same roads. A race bike needs to have fantastic power transfer, super stiff when you're sprinting and climbing. So got a little hill approaching, let me give it some beans and see how the bike responds. So not a climbing bike, but billed as an all-round bike, so it needs to climb well as it does go fast on the flats. So onto a 2.3 kilometre climb, up to 4 or 5%, so not super steep, but the sort of climb where aero at high speeds should benefit you more than lower weight. I'm definitely glad for the low range SRAM Rival gearing on this bike. Not race gears, but real world gears. Definitely helping me on a climb right now. Still in the big ring, still got 2 sprockets on that cassette to go, doing 300 watts. So as the gradient picks up, I'm out of saddle, and yeah, it feels mega stiff. No flex down there at all, around the bottom bracket, no disc brake rub. The front end, the handlebars, nice and stiff as well. Doesn't feel quite as electric as the Tarmac, but there was 6.7 kilos. And while weight isn't everything, low weight does feel nice. Okay, that's the climbing over, for now anyway. Let's drop into a descent and see how it gets on down here. A race bike needs to go downhill and through corners extremely well. So let's see what the bike has got. And we're straight up to speed. And it feels lively. Feel that agility shining through as the speed increases. Doesn't have that planted stability of an endurance bike. And the back of the bike, through the seat post and saddle, it's quite hard. There's a lot of feedback being transmitted through the seat post into my buttocks. Right, out to the middle of the road. Adjust my speed, bit of dirt. Yeah, nice, it handles cool as well. That pinpoint precision through the bends you want from a race bike. It moves around very easily, very lively bike indeed. Fairly quick steering, even at high speed. Just as I want from a race bike. Outside I'll give it a bit of welly into the next section. Dodging potholes. Yes, that rough tarmac there showing up his lack of composure. I've got to say, I'm impressed with this bike. No wonder the team are having so much success this year. Not down to the bike, of course, the riders and their amazing fitness. But, there's a but. For all the speed, there's definitely a lack of comfort and compliance on rough roads. So right now, I'm on a rough road. I use it testing the comfort of bikes, and it's not amazing. It reminds me of an older aero bike, like a Scott Foil or an early Specialized Venge. So pretty stiff, definitely a lot of feedback, vibrations, buzz coming through the handlebars, the contact points and the saddle as well. So a little bit jarring at times. So it rather does take the shine off the all-round appeal. Not quite as easy to live with if you're not racing, you just want a bike for riding fast on a Sunday morning, but you still value comfort.
which many of us do. I definitely do. And yes, I am running wide tyres. It comes with a 28mm wide Michelin tyre. I'm running low pressures with Zip 303S wheels. So I put my own control wheels in there, some MV SES 4.5s with Conti GP 5000s, tubeless at the same low pressures, and the comfort was definitely improved. So if you buy a bike, go tubeless to benefit from the extra comfort you get. But with those wheels fitted, those MV wheels, it's still quite a firm ride and not as smooth as the new Tarmac, the Madone, or even a Giant Propel. So my takeaway is Van Rysel have built a fantastic race bike that is damn quick and rides extremely well for a race bike. So if you are racing, this is definitely a good option. If you buy a bike for blasting around on a Sunday morning and love going fast and don't care about comfort, then yeah, crack on. But if smoothness, that ride quality is something that you do value, I don't think the bike quite works for me. There are better options for race bikes that are both fast, but also offer that kind of real world comfort. So a bike that floats along a rough stretch of tarmac won't lead to a jittery ride and just be more pleasant to live with on a daily basis if it's your one bike and you're not racing. But if you're racing, boy oh boy, is it a quick bike, and definitely up there with the fastest bikes I've ridden so far here on Just Ride Bikes.
When you consider the performance the bike offers, it is an absolute bargain. And that's partly why the bikes are in such demand right now. The prices are so good, and does remind me of when Canyon first arrived in the UK about 10 years ago, and people couldn't buy them quickly enough. So the bike here is the most affordable, cheapest model in the range and retails for £4,500 with Zip 303S wheels, Michelin 28mm wide tyres, a SRAM Rival AXS group set, and Data handlebar and stem, and a Physique saddle. So all good quality kit, no shortcuts in that department at all. And if you are feeling a bit more flush, you can move up to £5,500 for the first of the Pro models, and goes up to £9,000 for what is essentially a team replica bike with a Shimano Dura-Race Di2 group set with a claim weight of 6.9 kilos. And that is still a lot of money. 9 grand is still a lot of cash, but compared to what a Trek, a Specialized, a Candale will cost you the same group set and parts, it's pretty damn good. And that's why the bikes have become so popular in a very short amount of time. But back to this bike, and that brand I mentioned earlier, Canyon, do offer a bike in their range, a CFSL7 AXS, which has the same group set and carbon fiber wheels. It's actually £100 cheaper and does have a one-piece carbon aero handlebar and stem, and is a bike we all know rides extremely well. But the advantage does swing back to Van Rysel in the fact you walk into a Decathlon superstore and buy the bike rather than buy it over the internet and wait a few weeks or months for it to arrive in the post in a large box. And compared to a Specialized Tarmac SL8, well, you're looking at £6,000 for a bike with the same components. Say no more. The Van Rysel RCR does have the Tarmac SL8 licked when it comes to value for money. So, time for my verdict. Should you rush out and buy the new Van Rysel RCR or give it a miss? Well, comfort issues aside, the performance, speed and handling are all very impressive, and the value for money is very good indeed, and definitely better than a Specialized Tarmac SL8 with the same group set on. But that Canyon Air Road I mentioned earlier does run the bike very closely. Between the Van Rysel and the Canyon, I think for me the Canyon nips it just by a whisker. That one-piece carbon aero handlebar and stem, and a slightly smoother ride quality as well, but extremely close, and it's very impressive what Van Rysel have done with the first attempt at a top-end pro-level race bike. And this is just the entry-level model. I can't wait to try the pro-level model to see how that racks up compared to other bikes in that space or similarly equipped bikes I've ridden over the last 12 months. Anyway, if you want to see that review of the Canyon Air Road, that's up there in that video linked above right now. And of course, don't forget to subscribe by hitting that button down below. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Got any questions, put them down below in the comment section. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.